My fondest F1 memory. This is actually a really difficult one because I haven't actually been to a race yet, but I have been really lucky to have two incredible F1 experiences, both with McLaren. It was really hard to choose out of the two of them, but I posted a photo on Friday of practice for Austria, and somebody commented on why I had this of all tracks on my little F1 shrine, and this will explain that. So I have this, which is questionable because it's Spain and it's not the best of tracks. It doesn't provide exciting racing and it definitely isn't one of my favourite tracks, but it is a good track, and the reason it holds something personal to me. So it was the first track that I'd ever been to. It was the first time that I'd ever seen F1 cars actually like driving, actually working. It was at F1 testing in 2020. So the couple of days that week were already amazing. I was already in my element, but one day I was stood on top of the McLaren garage and I looked down at my phone and I have a direct message from McLaren themselves just asking if that afternoon if I'd like to go into the McLaren garage. I freaked out. They probably heard me from down below. Obviously I accepted. I met Mark and Charlie outside the paddock that afternoon with my friend Sarah. I asked if she could come in with me. We went through the paddock. It was all filmed for the McLaren app as well, so that was amazing. I've literally got a documented experience to hold for the rest of my life. We went into the garage, we got to see Lando get into his car and then head out for the afternoon session. And then afterwards we went into the brand centre, we had a cup of tea, I was sat next to Lando's mum. Carlos came out of his driver room and gave us a wave. Yeah, and then we went out, we did a little bit of like talking for the app, although I didn't do that much talking because, believe it or not, I don't like talking on camera, but here I am. Yeah, it was honestly amazing. I cannot thank McLaren enough. It is something that I will remember for the rest of my life. So yeah, that is the reason why I have Catalonia in my living room. I'm gonna add some photos here of my time in the garage as well, because it was amazing.
So for me personally, it's really hard to focus on just one memory because I kind of grew up watching Formula One with my dad and my grandpa. Some of my earliest memories are more like, oh, it's cars going around on a track. That's so cool. I'll just watch that with them. But like, I can't really remember anything specific about it. But there are two very fond memories that I have. Number one would be Michael's last race in 2012. That was definitely an emotional one for me. And the way they had this track entrance where he came in with the big thank you sign, and that was really the end of an era, actually. So that was insane. But definitely one of my fondest and funniest memories. Shout outs to my ex-boyfriend for that one. That was in 2019 and I was in Rome for a convention that I was invited to. I was supposed to fly back to Germany on that Sunday, and there was the Brazilian GP going on that day. And my flight was in the late afternoon, I would say. So I remember being at the airport in Rome, walking around trying to find a TV or something anywhere, because I was like, this is Ferrari land. Someone has to show Formula One, right? So I kept walking and walking and I couldn't find anything. I found a big Ferrari store and made a picture of myself in front of it whilst wearing McLaren merch. Big balls, but you know. And then I texted him. I was like, damn, no one's here to show the race. Like, I don't know what to do. I want to watch it. And then he FaceTimed me. And I sat at the airport FaceTiming him, showing me his TV so I could watch the race with him. And I was standing in line with the check-in. And then really shortly before takeoff, I had to turn it off, of course. And then when I landed, I got a bunch of messages on my phone from him saying, oh my God, Carlos podium, oh my God. And he was freaking out for me because I wasn't able to see it. And I remember sitting in that plane when we first, arrived in Berlin. And I looked at my phone and I almost started crying because it was just so emotional for me. And I still, to this day, regret that I wasn't capable of watching it. Huge shout outs to my ex for making it possible for me to at least see the race start and all that. So that was definitely a funny memory. But yeah, so much for me.
My fondest Formula One memory is the time Michael Schumacher won the World Championship in Suzuka in 2000. That was the dream following Michael, and that was the happiest I'd ever been as a little boy. So that is my fondest Formula One memory.
My fondest F1 memory is Abu Dhabi 2010, like that title deciding race for Sebastian Vettel, especially for me as a German, as a Red Bull Racing fan. It was like the most relieved moment for, how old was I? 10 years, 11 years old. Like literally crying out my emotions for that win. I felt like I was not gonna sleep that night, and I think I didn't sleep that night because I was so happy. Next day I went to school and I was really tired because I didn't sleep. So I think this is the sign for me that makes it like my fondest F1 memory.
My earliest fondest memory was probably watching Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso just absolutely kill it growing up, and my dad sort of like shouting at the TV, like screaming, come on Fernando, like come on Jensen. It was one of those ones that I remember growing up. I think another fond memory of mine was when Daniel first went to Red Bull, and then I was like, yeah, go Daniel, that's my guy. And then, just watching him and then just suddenly going like, that's who I want to support, that's my driver. I don't know, fond is a bizarre word to I think link to Formula One because it holds such a place in my heart, yet the sport, when you describe Formula One, you don't use the word fond, I think. But I also think when I met Daniel was probably another fond memory of mine after supporting him for so many years and not being able to go to a race or a racetrack or an event, and then meeting him the first time out of pure luck and chance was great. But then, getting to speak to him and getting a hug from him and talking to him and him paying attention to you really is just an amazing feeling, and it just makes you think all of that support you've done over the years just makes it worth it. And then I'd probably want to say another fond F1 memory of mine was probably going to pre-season testing 2020, being with all my friends, meeting a handful of the drivers in the teams and just having a great time and watching the cars go round and getting excited for the season that was to come, obviously before COVID happened. So yeah, those are my fond F1 memories.
One of my fondest memories is cliche, but it's the first Grand Prix I've ever visited. I started watching F1 in 2016 and I went to the Austrian Grand Prix in 2017. I was on the Max Verstappen grandstand, and it was also the first Grand Prix where they ever had one. So that was very special. Sitting on the Max Verstappen grandstand in person is even more iconic than what you guys see on TV. The goosebumps were everywhere, and like you feel like as one, all in orange, and it's very special. Before the race, Max and Daniel both visited the grandstand in their Austrian outfits, like the lederhosen. I had a very brief moment with them as well. There was a fence between me and them. Nonetheless, it means a lot to me. And yeah, I think the first ever Grand Prix you visited is always one that will stay with you and very close to you. So yeah, that's one of my very fondest moments. Another very precious moment is the moment that I met Max Verstappen. I managed to get a spot on this Dutch talk show where he was a guest. The show was called Pep Talk, and it's basically a show on Ziggo Sport, the F1 broadcaster in the Netherlands, where they receive famous sports people from the Netherlands and talk about their career and achievements and everything. So Max was one of the guests there. And I think 100 people were in the audience, and everyone got the opportunity after the show of making a very brief picture with him. Maybe I can try to show you guys because I have it somewhere in my room. I hope you guys can see it. It's here. There is me and Max. So yeah, that's been a very special moment to me.